Why do you want to get good marks in the IB? So this may seem like a stupid question, granted, but I feel it's a question worth talking about. And I think typically we all fall into three different types of categories. We're either using our IB marks to get into a good university, or maybe we want to use our IB marks to show others how smart we are, what we're capable of. Or maybe, if you're like me, you want to use your IB marks to prove to yourself what you're capable of. And my advice to you when it comes to dealing with your IB marks depends on the category with which you identify yourself. The first one, getting into a specific university, I think this is an extremely valid reason to do well in the program and want to get high marks. And I believe the majority of you want to get good marks in the IB for this reason. And if you did, you got your offer, you got the points you needed to get to your dream university, you should be extremely proud of yourself because that's an amazing accomplishment and hats off to you. But if you didn't, these are some of the steps that I recommend that I think can kind of help the situation. The first thing I'll do is try to renegotiate your offer. I actually had a friend that did this. He missed his conditional offer by just a point, and he thought he couldn't enter the university. But he emailed them and gave them a very lengthy reason why he thinks he should still be considered for the university. And I don't know how, but they ended up accepting him. And you'd be surprised how many universities are actually open to this. Many of them already know how hard the IB program is, and missing a point isn't the end of the world for them. If you think that high-ranking universities don't do this, my friend attended a Russell Group University in the UK, so he was pretty stoked about the fact that he could go in. So that's one of the first things I'd try to do, contact university and see how that kind of figures out. However, if you miss your offer by like 3 points, then it's a whole different ballgame, right? Renegotiating is out of the picture, basically. But what if I told you there was a way to boost your mark, have plenty of time to study, and literally have the ability to do whatever you want? Now, a lot of you are going to get pretty shocked by this, and I know you don't like to hear it, but I would recommend you to resit your exams. So before you kind of close the video and chalk up whatever I'm saying as stupid, just hear me out. I know resitting your exams, there's a social stigma with it. Oh, this guy resat his examination. But try to see things from this perspective. Think of your whole May exams as this one massive, messed up, intensive mock exam. Okay, essentially for this exam, you had to, whether you liked it or not, study everything in the syllabus. Whether you rushed it or not, it doesn't matter. You had to study everything. So most likely, you already have a firm foundation and a good understanding of the syllabus that just needs some time to be sharpened and strengthened. So with the resits, with your IA, EE, and everything else out of the picture, you don't have to worry about that. Literally, you just have to study for your final paper. And if you graduate in May and you reset your exam in November, you have a good 5 months to study for your paper, just your paper. And if you start from the time you open up your results, and you will still have a good 3 months. Plenty of time to sharpen that knowledge of the syllabus and attempt every single past paper. Man, you'll be so smart at the end of the day that you literally find your test easy. Whether it's HL, whether you're just going to be at that level. So some universities like Australia allow you to apply with your November grades because that's when their term starts. But some of the universities require you to apply next year. So in that case, you have to take a gap year. So after your November exams, you still have 7 months of free time to do whatever you want. And with that, I present to you Happy Co. I believe that too much free time is bad, but considering that you'll have 3 to 4 years for your undergrad, 2 for masters, and then you're going to have to work for the rest of your life, 7 months off doesn't seem too bad. Whether you want to travel, explore your passions, learn, grow in whatever ways you've ever wanted to but never had that time, you have that luxury now for 7 months. And remember, the hardest part right now is convincing your parents but when they understand that you can go to an amazing university, and oftentimes that means better job prospects, they won't mind, considering it's literally just a year of your life more. In fact, many universities take on candidates that do wonderful things in their gap year. And also you only have to reset the exams you want. This is literally one of the easiest decisions you can make. Sure, you may say that time is being wasted and you're delaying your education, and that's true. Well, think about it like this. 1 year is going to fly by. And graduating from a really good, prestigious university is going to help the future 20 years of your life. 1 year doesn't seem that bad when you consider a 20-year time frame. It's hard to imagine yourself in that situation, retaking your exams. I'm delaying, all my friends are going to be enjoying in uni. But think about this, once it's over and you have that piece of paper with that amazing IB score, all those sacrifices that you took will be worth it. So remember, if you decide to take a gap year and you resit your exams and you get that amazing score, nothing can stop you after that from, doing your education the way you want to. Establish that if your sole reason to do well in the IB is to get into a good university, then all you have to do is resit your exams. Don't care what other people think. And essentially, really, your video ends here because I have no more advice to give you. But I think some of you, and many of you are like me, care more about the actual grade on the diploma, whether that was enough to get you into the university you wanted or not. And usually there are two groups of people like this. There are people who want to prove to other people how smart they are, and there are people who want to prove to themselves how smart they are. Both groups of people, even if they got the required grades they needed for university, they still won't be happy if it isn't to their expectations. Like, if you only need a 36 to get into a university, but you won't be happy unless you get a 40. Those type of people. If you're one of them, like I was, do not resit your exam. You shouldn't resit your exam if you don't need it, especially if you're just trying to prove something to someone, even if that someone is yourself. My advice to you is completely different. So why don't we focus on the first group of people, the people who want to prove how smart they are to other people. And I don't believe most of you are like this, but some of you are, and there may be many conditions that contribute to this. Maybe your school is ultra competitive, or maybe your friends are. Or maybe you had an academic rival that kept on pushing you to your limits, like I had. I'm actually really thankful that I had that guy, because although we were really good friends, in terms of academics, we drove each other to work hard, which is good. Obviously, he and me were kind of competing with each other, and we both ended up getting good scores. Maybe you have a different reason for trying to get higher than other people. Maybe, for example, a lot of people find you dumb, and this is your chance to show them what you've got. Or maybe your parents have always doubted you and you want to make them proud. Or maybe, you're not as smart as your friends, but you really want to. You really think you can show them this time. Here's the problem with that. Your happiness from getting an amazing IB score for this reason is not going to last at all. It's not going to last at all. You see, I got a 40 in the IB, granted. A pretty good score. It's higher than the average IB graduate, but not that amazing. But it was just enough to beat my friends. What happens is that initially everyone tells you how smart you are. And honestly, this feels really good. Which is nothing wrong with that. Being proud of your accomplishments is pretty good. But when your sole reason to get good marks is to prove others how smart you are, the thing is, when the compliments stop, you still want compliments. And over time, you're going to end up becoming that guy. That guy who's always fishing for compliments. Liken it to the guy who bought a $10,000 Rolex for the sole reason of showing it off. And what do we think of those people? Do we admire those people? Do we respect those people? No. None of us respect those people. When the tables turn, let's say somebody gets a 45, liken it to somebody bringing a $100,000 watch. Now, your Rolex doesn't really seem that much special, and every time somebody compliments the guy with the $100,000 watch, you're gonna feel it in your bones, right? That jealousy, that toxic jealousy. In the same way, imagine you got a 40 for the sake of showing off to other people, and somebody has a 45. Now, you can't rub it in that person's face, and that's gonna frustrate you. Contrast this to a person who has an appreciation for watches as a collector, if you will. Once in a while, he flaunts his collection, and there's really nothing wrong with that, because that isn't his sole reason for getting expensive watches. We, or at least I, appreciate those type of people. And when somebody has a better watch than them, collectors don't get jealous. I mean, they do a little, but they still have an appreciation for that person's watch. They're still happy that that person has that $100,000 watch, because it's hard to get. And the same way with us, when somebody gets something better than us, gets a better score, it's really hard to be happy for them. Because of that jealousy, that reduces you over time to become a really negative person. And that's not something that you want to be. Contrast that to the person who's happy with what he has, and he already got what he needs for university. And because of that, he's not jealous. He's like, yeah, let everybody have their fun. Let everybody be happy. And he can appreciate the scores of other people. And that positivity radiates, and it's very easy to pick up and discern what type of people belong in which category. You see, at the end of the day, you won't get that rush of dopamine that come from compliments for too long. In the end, everyone moves on with their lives, and they go on, most likely, to accomplish great things. And if you're so fixated on the things you can achieve, you may end up that sad person, that basks in his old glory, devoting your happiness to the validation of other people. I mean, in my personal opinion, and a lot of others, especially when you say it like that, is a road that leads to emptiness. And this just continues on for the rest of your life, pursuing things for other people. Now, the next type of people are the ones that use their IB score to prove for themselves their abilities or how smart they are, so to speak. Now, here's the thing. I personally identify with this category, the third one. You see, in the 10th grade, let me tell you a bit of a story. I took my IGCSEs. Now, even in 10th grade, I always had high aspirations in terms of academics. But I never studied that much. I took it really easy and frequently skipped class. You see, I always had a personal view of myself that even if I didn't study so hard, I would still do amazing in the test. I always thought that I was that bright kid. And whether I studied or not, I would top out my class. And when results day came, reality crashed. People who I thought I was smarter than got better than me, and turns out I wasn't really that bright. And after my result, I was shocked, man. I cried, I lost sleep, and I became a really, really sad person for some time. And here's the thing, my results weren't even that bad. I got A's for most of my subjects, but I was so blinded by the fact that I didn't get top marks and I didn't get my A stars that my confidence in myself shattered. Because I wasn't as smart as I thought I was. Do you see how blinded I was at that time? I was so morbidly obsessed with getting amazing marks that I couldn't be proud of what I accomplished. And unfortunately, it didn't end there. One of the reasons I was able to pull through from this sadness was the fact that I had the IB, a chance to do a university accepted academically rigorous program. And I was not gonna let that go. This was my one chance to regain that confidence that I had lost, especially after you hear so many stories of people saying, the IB, it's crazy, I want to cry, and then you see that YouTube video of that guy studying for his IB exams with that weird laugh at the end. If you can do something like that, if you can overcome that, your confidence increases like crazy. And so I tried my best, during the IB program. I remember among my darkest days where I failed a test or I was under tremendous stress, I would say to myself, come on, Code, you can't repeat what happened with your IGCSE marks. And that honestly was a major source of motivation. I knew deep inside my heart that I couldn't handle it if I did bad in my diploma. So I did whatever it took. I pulled all-nighters, I worked my butt off, and I pushed harder than I ever have for school. And in the end, I got a 40. Good, right? Yeah. I mean, I thought it was good. It was an amazing feeling. My confidence was back. I was extremely happy, and I was ecstatic that against some pretty hard odds, I got a good score. And I oftentimes at other points in my life, I use my IB score as a source of confidence for hard things that I would attempt to do. Like I would always say, if I can get a 40 in the IB, surely I can do this. Something like that. Here's the thing though. Here's the problem with that. And I know I'm talking a bit fast, but yeah, I'm trying to get a lot of my thoughts out. One afternoon, I was completely alone, and this thought, this thought, I don't know where it came from, but it dawned on me. And I asked myself, what would have happened if I didn't get those good scores? What would have happened if I didn't get a 40 or anything below like a 38? When I asked myself honestly, or 37, something around that mark, when I asked myself honestly, what would have happened if I didn't do well in the program? When I was truly honest with myself, the answer was very scary, and I'm 99% sure the following events would have happened. I would have undergone tremendous shock. I would have surely isolated myself from my family. Maybe I would have spent a ton of time alone and isolated myself from my friends. Probably I would have had negative thoughts running through my head every day for the next 2 years. It seems like an exaggeration, but it's really not. That's how much weight the IB had on me. In the same way I used my 40, like I said before, as a basis for doing hard things, I would have used my bad score as a basis to say that I wouldn't be able to do anything hard because I would just end up doing bad like I did in the IB. And I would have never really worked hard at anything as I really could have, because I could always use the excuse that, I didn't do well in something because I never worked as hard as I could have, because I'd be so afraid of putting in that much effort and failing like I did in the IB. So I would have probably found a way to turn my frustration into anger and probably lash out at my family for no reason. Essentially, I would have been a very depressed for I say at least a good 2 or max 3 years, that no matter how much I try and how much I set my mind to it, I can't achieve the goals that I want. That's basically what would have happened to me. Those would have been the thoughts that have been running through my head. And you may say to me, Cole, you're literally telling me how depressed you are if you didn't get good in the IB. How is this supposed to help us? You're supposed to comfort us. Now, bear with me because I'm trying to make a point that I believe is really important. If you had a son or daughter that failed their first grade math exam and they started feeling sad and muttered the words, I'm a failure, what would you say to little Sarah? If her name was Sarah. Sarah, this is just one test. You have so many more tests to do that you can do good in. Just work harder next time. Something along those lines. And isn't that simple? Just work harder next time. But you see, in my case, I wouldn't have worked harder next time because I would have been too depressed. Do you see the problem with putting too much emphasis on this exam? Now, I'm not trying to say that you shouldn't care about your results, and don't take me wrong. This isn't a video about, don't put all your self-worth into these things, and it's not that video. All I'm trying to say is you should care about your results because, it is an amazing program, and as humans, one of the factors we should use to objectively judge ourselves are the results that we get from working hard at something we want. And I'm all for that. I'm all for looking at the fruits of our labor. But it shouldn't be everything that we base our abilities on. The IB doesn't show you the total extent of your abilities. If your name was, like mine, the IB doesn't show the total extent of Cole's abilities. It shows the total extent of your abilities as your 18-year-old self. Now, try to understand what I'm trying to say. The marks you get from this program do not show your true potential. Let me say this again. If you're a person that attaches the value of your abilities to your IB diploma grades, this is extremely stupid. Because, can you see this graph? I want to ask you a question. Where do you think the IB is in this graph? Do you think it's this really big jump over here? No, I'll tell you where the IB is. This is the IB. Okay, this is the IB. This is IB, faced by 18-year-old Cole. The IB is this little bump in the line graph. Do you see how many challenges you're going to face and you need to overcome in life? This is literally just a small blimp. I'm not saying, look at the bigger picture, grades don't matter, IB doesn't matter. No, I'm saying that you will have 1,000 harder things to deal with in life that you can use to prove your abilities to yourself and objectively assess how capable and how smart you really are. You literally have your whole life ahead of you, and there are going to be 100 situations that you're going to face that are going to be 10 times harder than the IB. And all these are opportunities that serve as a chance to prove your abilities to yourself. Really, think about this. Okay, if you weren't in this program, how would other people see it? This is just a program that you did as an 18-year-old kid. Okay, saying that you can't achieve great things in life because you put in all this effort, all the effort you ever had into the program, and you still didn't get the results you wanted. You're basically saying that your abilities as an 18-year-old will be the same intellectual and physical capabilities you will have when you're 25, 30, 40, 70, something like that. And if it is, if you're not going to grow at all, then you should be sad because that means you're not going to accomplish much. But I'm almost 100% sure that that isn't going to be the case, because as humans, we grow. Over time, you're going to, maybe this is college for you. Over time, you're going to undergo college. You're going to have jobs over here. You're going to have maybe a family over here. You're going to have so many things. Maybe this is not a family. Maybe this is when you open your own business. There are going to be so many events in life that are going to be so hard. And honestly, it's pretty stupid for you to judge your capabilities based on this. Okay, over time, when you undergo all these things, you'll grow so much in terms of your abilities and your capabilities that you won't even believe what you can accomplish. Honestly, it'd be pretty stupid for me to judge what I can achieve in life based as an 18-year-old kid. Just like it's stupid for Sarah to judge her abilities on some first grade math exam, You're going to have so many opportunities in life to prove yourselves and your capabilities. Why are you letting this one program stop you? It doesn't have to be in academics. It could be a business. You could have a family. You don't know what's in store for you in life. I'll give you an example. John Paul, the owner of Patron Spirits, I think it's a tequila thing. That guy was homeless, okay? He became a billionaire. A billionaire with a B. Can you imagine that? Do you think at any point when he was homeless, he thought he was even going to have enough money to pay rent, let alone become a billionaire? Do you honestly think that you can't achieve anything more in life just because you failed an academic program as a kid? So, the point I'm trying to make, how did this realization affect me? Right now, let's say I put in a crazy amount of effort in college, more than I ever did in the IB, and I fall flat on my face. Sure, I'd be devastated, but I'm not going to be like how I was before. I won't get that depressed. Sure, I will get depressed, but I'm not going to use that score to base my abilities. I'm going to use that to show that my abilities aren't where I need them to be, and I need to work harder next time before I can start achieving big things. See, I'm going to grow. I'm going to make sure that I'm going to grow as a person, and you better make sure that you're going to grow as well. I guess what I'm trying to say is that you should have a healthy view of the program. Regardless of your score, you still worked your butt off, man. You probably had to endure stupid teachers, dumb deadlines, and a world of confusion, and that's already more than what the typical high schooler does. Just by graduating from this program, it's a decent accomplishment in itself, and no one can take that away from you. Again, I'm not saying that you shouldn't care about your results. If you did terrible, it's okay to be sad about it, but use it as a chance for you to work harder next time. Don't use it as a basis for everything that you're capable of. Even if you put in a ton of effort into this program, more effort than you ever have, your results are only a reflection of your 18-year-old self. Okay? This hormone-enraged teenager that does something right once in a while. It's not gonna be a reflection of the mature, capable, and reliable person that you will one day be. So, this is basically my attempt to kind of wax poetic about a topic, but this is a topic that I feel quite strongly about, because I realized if I still had my skewed thinking, I could have become that hollow, empty, and depressed version of myself that I am today, just because of a grade I received in high school, and I would have been too depressed to accomplish some pretty cool things that I'm doing right now, and these things, which I value a lot, have nothing to do with my IB grade, and whether I did good in the IB or not. What I'm basically trying to tell you is that at the end of the day, realize that your life is just getting started, and you have a whole buttload of highs and lows to deal with in this intense, vigorous, and massive program that we call life.